Hi, fourth grade. You're going to need your week 5 social studies weekly on California Indians. So California Studies Weekly, your week 5 California Indians. Okay, so you should have that with you and ready. We're going to read along together and stay tuned because the secret word will be in here. Okay, so first and foremost, the word, I want to give you a little vocabulary lesson. See how this title right here says California Indians? I just want to make it clear that when you see the word California Indians, that is okay to say. When you see the word Indians just by itself and there's no name in front of it, either it's California or a specific type of group of Indians, then it's considered disrespectful. This is the respectful way. So if we say California Indians, that's okay. If we say the Pomo Indians, that's okay. If we just say the word Indians, that's disrespectful and we don't say that. So you need to have the name of the tribe you're referring to, and then you may say the word Indian. So in this case, we're talking about California Indians. So all of the California Indians are grouped together because they were in California, and that's what we're focusing on. And then there's different, each group had a specific name. We're going to look at those names today. And just know that when you say California Indians is okay, or the name of the Indian tribe and then saying Indian, that's okay. All right. So just want to make that clear. We're going to read together. Meet the first Californians. This week, let's learn about the first people who lived in California. Over the next few weeks, we will study California Indian groups and learn how those clever people found ways to live long lives by making do with only the raw materials around them. You could say that they only used the natural resources around them. We don't know their names, but we can guess that the first people to settle in California must have loved it here because they never moved out. People have been here ever since. The earliest dwellers arrived about 12,000 years ago. Scientists believe they came from other parts of North America and probably migrated to our state in search of a better life. What they found was one of the most lovable and livable lands in all of North America. That is an opinion, folks, just so you know. What they found was one of the most lovable and livable lands in all North America. That's an opinion because not everybody has that opinion, right? Somebody else who lives in California could say, California is not great. It's not the most lovable. So what we just read there, that's an opinion. There's no facts to back it up, right? So just keep that in mind when we're reading. The first dwellers found plenty of natural goodness to sustain life in early California. For thousands of years, people built homes and raised their families in gratitude to the unseen forces they believed guided and influenced all living things. That means that they believed in a higher power. The native people believed in a higher power. They did not believe in the God we believe in. They believed in spirits. We'll get into that later. The first American Indians lived near water. It makes sense. You want to live by water because that's a natural resource and everyone needs water to live. So they chose to live near the water. Those on the coast and near rivers became experts at fishing and building boats. They learned that salmon returned from the ocean to spawn, and they learned about the many kinds of wildlife that lived there. They knew how to weave sagebrush bark to make sandals, baskets, and mats. They created many kinds of tools out of stone. The American Indians used their tools to smooth and polish things, to punch holes and to chop. They even used the atlat, which is a throwing stick used to propel a spear through the air. Later, they became skilled with bows and arrows. They also decorated their bodies with fur, beads, and feathers, and they enjoyed the fruit, berries, nuts, and roots that were easily available. With the passage of time, the early American Indians began to differ from one another. Weather changes, new migrations. New migrations means you're leaving one place to go to another place. You're not staying put. Migrating is you're going to be here and then you're going to move somewhere else. That's what migration means. So weather changes, new migrations, failing food supplies, and contact with other people forced the various tribes to move around and at times to combine. The geography of the region kept the groups divided into 6 main categories with more than 100 different languages. Woo. Okay, at the bottom it says connections. The atlatl is here to stay. The atlatl was an effective hunting weapon used thousands of years ago by American Indians and other ancient people. But if you think the ata was a tool used only in ancient times, think again. The atlatl is a long stick with a hook used to catapult a spear or dot at a target. Has gained popularity among sports enthusiasts over the past several years. And this popularity is growing faster and then speedier than a speeding spear. Dozens of atlatl clubs have sprouted across the United States and around the world. Hundreds of competitions are held yearly where both adult and young atlats launch darts at targets in competitions of accuracy. Some teachers are even giving students a hands-on history lesson by teaching atlatl throwing at schools and museums. Ooh. Some say they enjoy flinging spears and darts with the atlatl because it's an interesting sport, it's great exercise, and it's just plain fun. Many people also enjoy participating in an activity that was highly valued by their ancestors so many years ago. The atlatl is still used as a hunting weapon in some cultures today. Some native tribes in Mexico and Australia still hunt and fish with atlats. The atlatl was the weapon of choice among Ice Age hunters and is still popular among some hunters today. Now it is becoming a sport of choice among the adventurous modern-day competitors. Whether for competing or hunting, the atlatl has a long history and a promising future. Okay, let's look inside. Meet the first Californians. Ooh, excited for you guys. Let's see. Number 1, the coastal people. Let's just take a look at the titles. It says number 1, the coastal people. Number 2, the valley people. Number 3, the mountain people. Number 4, the desert people. Those are awfully familiar words that we've been focusing on. Wouldn't you say, 4th grade? Coastal, valley, mountain, desert. Those remind me of the 4 regions of California. So the regions are not only important to separate the land from each other. So we have the mountain range, we have the Pacific Coast range, we have the Central Valley with all of the farming, and then we have the desert range. So we have those 4 regions, and that's how they're grouping the native peoples and how they lived, because each region had specific California Indian groups living in them. And we're going to see the resources that they used. So number 1 was the coastal people. California coastal people lived off the sea. If you lived by the sea, you would most likely be great at fishing because you lived by the sea and there's lots of fish in the sea. And that would be a natural resource that you're using to feed yourself. California coastal people lived off the sea. They harvested the oceans for kelp, sea slugs, salmon, herring, halibut, dog salmon, whales, and sea otters. From these, they had food, clothing, fishing line, ropes, and tools. Their villages were usually near the sea or river coast, and their culture was built around their canoes, fishing, and plenty of California sunshine. They built great villages, but some of them also kept homes in places where they could be protected from coastal storms. Some of the tribes you might recognize includes the Hupa, Yurok, Karok, and the Chumash. Number 2, valley people. The people in the valley areas didn't need the strong ocean-going canoes the coastal people used. Their canoes were shallow and sometimes made of a reel called tul. They were experts at catching fish in the streams and rivers. The valley people didn't cultivate the land in the beginning because so much food was there for the taking. They hunted game that was just about everywhere and lived off of berries and nuts. The women and the girls gathered acorns and ground the nuts into flour that they used for bread. Their homes were large domes of branches and trees covered over by earth. Some of the people you might recognize include the Miwok, the Yokuts, the Patwin, and the Yana. Number 3, the mountain people. Among California's eastern border is the range of mountains called the Sierra Nevada. Everyone say, duh, I already remembered that. I already knew that. So on the eastern border is the range of the mountains called the Sierra Nevadas. These snow-covered peaks have looked down on generations of families who made these high mountain valleys their home. Because of the cold winter weather, the mountain people built houses that were warm and sturdy. They also made and used snowshoes to get around in the deep snow. They learned how to dry meat and other foods so they had something to eat during the cold months. The men's job was to go hunting for animals, while the woman's job was to gather nuts and berries. Together, they created a wonderful home for their families. Some of the people you might recognize include the Maidu and the Nisan. Number 4, desert people. Among our Middle Eastern border to the south is a large desert and plains area. It's called the Mojave, the word meaning 3 mountains. Very little rain falls here, but plants and people have long made this their home. Many of these people were always on the move, chasing the food. Did you see that? Many of these people were always on the move. So if you lived in the desert, you were always on the move because you were chasing the food, because you can't stay in one place because the food supply is not in one place. So you have to go and hunt and follow the food supply. In early spring, they had very little to eat, usually snails and slow rabbits. By May or June, they moved to rivers to catch fish. By fall, they stalked deer or bighorn sheep. And the rich soils let many groups grow squash, melons, pumpkins, and corn. Some of the tribes you might recognize include the Washoe, the Paiute, the Shoshan, the Mojave, the Yuma, among others. So I want you to take a look at the pictures that you see. The Gatherer Indians is what the Paiute were sometimes referred to as. The Miwok Indian encampment, the Yokut Indian again, and the canoe, and the Hoopa Indian fishing. So notice how I said the Hoopa Indian, the Yokut Indian, the Miwok Indian. That's what I mean. You need to say the name of the tribe, and then you may use the word Indian so it's acceptable, right? Okay. Now let's look under self-discipline. Self-discipline, it's at the bottom left-hand corner. Self-discipline. Self-discipline is probably one of the hardest character traits to achieve. Do you know what it means to have self-discipline? Well, since it has the word self in it, you know it has to do with something to do with yourself. No one can have self-discipline for you. Self-discipline is being able to control your thoughts and actions in a way that helps you to be a better person. It means that you'll have the control to do your homework even when your friends come and ask you to play a great game of Foul Outside. It means you'll go to bed on time even though there's a movie on that you really want to watch. Or it's when you've had 3 chocolate frogs already, but there are still a couple left and you have the strength to say, I've had enough tonight. I'll save those for later. You self-discipline in nearly everything you do, including eating, sleeping, studying, and playing. It's a great thing to have. By having it, you'll keep yourself healthy, strong, and always doing what's best for you in the end. Self-discipline is just one of the many character traits that make the citizens of California such great people. That's another opinion. Self-discipline is just one of the many characteristics that make the citizens of California great people. That is an opinion. You can have self-discipline no matter where you live. Self-discipline is about yourself and how you discipline yourself. For you specifically, what you're doing right now is it's your self-discipline, how you look at Mrs. Bautista's agenda. You look at the things that are due for today, and then you look at the items that are due on a different day, on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you self-discipline. You say, okay, I'm going to get my social studies done on Monday, even though it's due on Wednesday, so I can have more free time on Wednesday. Or I have a little bit of time on Tuesday afternoons after my art class, so I can get working on my social studies project, my science project, whatever. So that is what they mean by self-discipline. You self-discipline and you organize yourself and you tell yourself when to do something and when not to do something. That's self-discipline. We're going to learn which is the biggest tree in the whole world. Which is the biggest tree in the world? American forests an agency in Washington, D.C., used a point system to decide which tree is the biggest in the world. Points are given based on how big the tree is around the trunk. So around the trunk, that's where the point value is. So you think of a big tree and look at the trunk, and it has to have, it's given points. The world's largest living tree, known as General Sherman Giant Sequoia in California, it is 103 feet around at the bottom and 275 feet tall. Wow. And it is estimated to be between 2,300 years old and 2,700 years old. Oh my Lanta, that is a old and big tree. Okay, bow and arrow. American Indians used the bow and arrow to hunt and kill their food. It replaced the atla, which was used by earlier American Indians. They would sneak up on their prey, sometimes in disguises, so they could shoot from a short distance and not frighten their prey. Making decoys. This is what you see. This is the decoy. This little duck right here is what we call a decoy. It is a fake duck. That's what a decoy is. It's something made to look like something, but it's not real. Making decoys. American Indians made duck decoys to help attract ducks closer to the brush where the American Indians were hiding. When the ducks came to the decoys, the American Indians would throw nets they made out of twined willow at the ducks. The California Indians made their decoys out of cattail leaves, feathers, and yucca strips, and they fastened them together with thongs and reeds. California Indians even painted their decoys to make them look more like the ducks they were hunting. So they would use these ducks as leverage, and they would lure their prey into hitting those ducks, and then they would catch them. They would catch their prey. Okay, you have 5 questions on your Google form to answer. You are going to want to look at when we talked about the different types of California tribes. Your answers should be there. And if they are not there, then you are going to have to be a text detective and say, where did we talk about the hoopa? Let me look for that word. Where's the hoopa? And you're going to scan the page, just like we did with Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. You find a key word in the question. Example. What important natural resource did the coastal people depend on for their survival? Coastal people. Let me find out where we talked about the coastal people. Let me reread that paragraph and then see where the answer is. And then I can input my answer on the Google form. Okay? This has all of your answers. There are no trick questions. This is your ticket to success. So take the time. Okay? Your secret word is flowers. If you put that secret word in, you will get extra credit. The secret word is flowers. Now, don't tell anyone. Keep it hush. Don't say a thing, okay? Keep it close. You get extra credit for watching this video and following along, okay? I will talk to you guys later.